What time is it? Well, I don't expect you to know this because I just made this up on the spot. It's Palooza time! Palooza time, come on, watch them tunes. We're gonna act like little loons. With Joey.T. from the Cartoon.P, the fun will never end. Palooza time. And they said I couldn't come up with diddlies on the spot. Well, I just proved them wrong. So before I go into the video, I would like to do a quick call for action for my Steamboat Willie collab, which I mentioned a couple videos before. If you're a filmmaker, animator, musician, creative type, you name it, you can join my Steamboat Willie collab. I put the guidelines below in the description box below if you want to know more information. So you've seen the video title. This is going to be something a little new for me, though not really new. In the past, I did something called editorials. However, I've come to realize that editorials are pretty much the same thing as video essays. So seeing that video essay is the quick, cool, clickbaity term to use, I figured I'd use that term because, well, I'm just that kind of guy. Adventure Time ended a few weeks ago, a very critically acclaimed animated series on Cartoon Network. And to my knowledge, one of the most trending videos on YouTube is the ending scene from Adventure Time. So it shows you that this show had quite an impact. So I'm not going to say that this video is going to be a review of Adventure Time. This is just going to be a quick understanding as to why this show made such an impact on the audience it was portrayed for. The show was created by Pendleton Ward, it premiered in the late 2000s, and it was about a boy and his dog in a pastel-colored world of crazy monsters and princesses. At first you'd think that this is just some sort of Dungeons and Dragons meets rubber hose animation, but there's surprisingly more depth to it. We discover that the monsters have deep backstories, the world they inhabit has a dark consequence, and even our hero follows a very common trope of the hero's journey to a specific way. The hero's journey is a clever archetype used in fiction to sort of justify adventure stories. Adventure Time represents something in pop culture utilizing alternative humor, a specific style that cannot be replicated, as well as speaking to the audience it's being created for. With that said, it's really hard to find a show that copies the style of Adventure Time. It has such a specific style. At first I looked at the style of Adventure Time and I figured that it was just rubber hose animation, but even then I had to look closely and realize that it goes a step beyond that, other than characters just not having joints. When I say the show speaks to a specific generation, I think it really speaks to millennials. In case you're not familiar as to what that term is, the millennial generation represents people born in the early 80s to late 90s to possibly 2000. I come from this generation and I could say that there's some very interesting things said towards us in a specific way. We're stuck in an impression that our college degrees are going to be getting us low-wage jobs either way, we're not really helping out the economy, and we're sort of being blamed for all the world's problems. And rather than make a statement about it, we're being blamed for not getting over it and being called snowflakes. And thanks to lovely technology of our growing generation, we're able to have collections of nostalgic video games, movies, and cartoons to go back on when the world's being crappy. And in some ways, the nostalgia kind of seeps its way into Adventure Time. Adventure Time takes place in an apocalyptic world. The future that we know will become the land of Ooo. And in this world, you have magical beings, but they rely on the past to learn about what the world was like. And in some ways, their language, which I could describe as being some Valley Girl, and math equations for some reason, incorporate this idea of striving for the past. You have one episode where one of the characters has a heartfelt moment with the theme song of Cheers. And if that doesn't speak to the millennial generation, I don't know what would. The idea that the future stinks, but at least we have the past to comfort us and to hopefully learn and make new of this world we have. And even the finale of Adventure Time sort of highlights this theme of the past being revisited in the future, where the land that we know as Ooo is now destroyed and now everybody's got to sort of start all over again. So what can we learn out of all this? The future sucks, go back to the past so that your present can be good. Kind of interesting for a show with characters with noodle arms. And I can go into other themes the show delves into, like LGBTQ representation. However, I don't think that Adventure Time really defined that as much as other shows that preceded it, like Legend of Korra and The Loud House, but I can clearly say that it was a step in the right direction. What I'm referring to are the characters Princess Bubblegum and Marceline, who the creator has stated had a relationship, but I guess because of TV censorship wasn't allowed to be shown, but given with other shows like Loud House and the aforementioned Legend of Korra, we're able to see that in the series finale. When the show first premiered, it was on the outbreak of when Cartoon Network wasn't really Cartoon Network. There were a lot of live action series, and there were barely any cartoons that make us think back to the glory days of Cartoon Fridays. There was a rumor around going when I was in high school that they were just going to rename it the network and just focus on live action programming for kids, very similar to what Nickelodeon was doing. However, there were two cartoons that premiered around that time, which was Chowder and Flapjack. When those shows ended, we then got Regular Show and Adventure Time. I mentioned this more in other videos, including a video where I talk about Flapjack and Cartoon Network getting over its creative hump. I included those videos in the cards above because YouTube is kind enough to let me have cards, and I need to figure out what to do with these things, so, well, here you go, guys. And it really comes to no surprise with Flapjack, Pendleton Ward, and a lot of the writers having worked on that show going on to create Adventure Time, which really shows in its humor. On the surface, Adventure Time is a very silly cartoon. I mean, just look at the cartoon and you get the impression that there's going to be a lot of yucks. When you go in with this impression though, you really deny yourself of what potential this show actually has. And to show for this, there were video logs by the creator Doug Walker, who went into this saying that I'm going to go be watching every episode, seeing what everybody thinks about it, and he's completely lost within like the first 3 episodes, to the point that he has to have somebody who's familiar with the show watch it with him, and even then doesn't seem like he fully grasps the concept of the show. To me, that only speaks to the strength of Adventure Time and that it defies expectations. You can watch a whole bunch of episodes and discover how Finn loses an arm early on with foreshadowing, and then other episodes following a talking worm. Does it matter that you watched the talking worm episode in regard to Finn's arm? No, but you're gonna have fun watching it. The same could be said for episodes in the middle, like one of my favorite episodes is called Lemon Hope, which I also reviewed, and I'll put a link in one of the cards above, which basically takes the whole hero's journey of Finn and portrays it within 1 to 2 episodes with one other character. The fact that you can go in and get a wide variety of different types of humor while also having deep complex storytelling really speaks to this show. So with all that said and done, I salute Adventure Time. It was a great, brilliant show. It defined a new generation for Cartoon Network, and truth be told, I don't think it can be replicated. You look at Adventure Time and you say there is no other show on TV that can look like that. It was a very unique show, it spoke to a generation, and I'm glad that I was a part of that train to watch it. So comment below, let me know what you think. It's fun making these videos. Let me know in the comments section below if you'll miss Adventure Time. I'm Joey.T.Cartoon.P, and thanks for watching this review on the Cartoon Palooza.